I don't think this is working. Oh, I didn't turn them on. Now I'm turning them on. Well, I believe that could well mean we're live. If so, howdy folks. It's another box of dogs. This time coming to you from the future. Here we go. Chat. I can't look at the chat at the moment, but I will get to that later. The important things to know are that, well, after the nuclear war, Australia was declared a republic, and Dan Andrews was in charge at the time. So now he's our new Prime Minister and President. And so now we've got to wear bike helmets everywhere we go. Why are so many people obsessed with Hitler? Well, let me propose an idea. Hitler fought a two-front war and lost. We're currently fighting a two-front war. Perhaps we can learn from his mistakes. The current thinking is that his mistake was to fight a two-front war in the first place. But what if you had no choice? Just like we have no choice. We're in a two-front war whether we like it or not. We're in a spiritual war. You know what? This is my rebellion. I'm taking the bike helmet off. Fuck you, Dan. Dictator Dan. President and Prime Minister and Minister of Good Times. You can do something about it. But I can't make any suggestions. Anyway. Yeah, we're in a spiritual war and that becomes our reality. So we're in a physical war with the world. Our enemies are like symbiotic. One feeds the other and the other feeds it back. And we are the food. Consumerism is self-fulfilling. Consumerism steals our money, our time, our focus, and it steals our souls. Send us into a despair so deep we reach for consumerism to fix it, and the cycle begins again because we're addicts. That's how addicts behave. I used to be an addict, and that's exactly how you behave. Sorry about the low quality of the video, folks, but it takes a lot of energy to beam this back from the future, and also you'll understand, if you understand anything like the moon landing and stuff, like, you know, back in your day we didn't have the technology to go back to the moon. Well, that's an ongoing trend, and technology just gets shitter and shitter. The iPhone 38 is fucking garbage. Anyway, yeah, you're just like an addict, you know. Another fix will hit this. Meanwhile, in the spirit realm, those negative emotions are like manna from heaven to the fucking demonic entities that live there. Like, they feed off that shit. I love it. Those in charge who view us as whom view us as nothing more than cattle benefit when we live our life through a negative lens. We sow negativity and they reap its fruits financially and energetically. I've been an addict before. And believe me, when you're an addict, you're a slave. Buddha said it. Attachment and desire lead to suffering, so have none and you'll get none. Oh, a long time ago. The abyss stretched before me, a void so absolute it seemed to swallow the very concept of light. As I stood at its edge, I recalled the words of Joseph Conrad. We live as we dream, alone. Darkness was not just physical absence. It's a presence, heavy and suffocating. Whispering truths I dared not face, I took a tentative step forward, the ground beneath me cold and unyielding. The silence was broken only by my own ragged breaths, each one a reminder of my solitude. Shakespeare's words echoed in my mind. Night is long that never finds the day. Man, that motherfucker could write, man. Like, it isn't just being... You ever had that where you fucking... It clicks? I had that moment with drumming, but not with writing. Like, William Shakespeare just... That motherfucker. It's a pity they didn't have rap back then, because he would have, Anyway. Would I ever find my dawn, or was I doomed to wander this eternal night? The air grew colder, and I felt the weight of unseen eyes upon me. A shiver ran through me as I remembered Edgar Allan Poe's haunting refrain. There's a lot of quotes in this. All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. A dream within a dream. Was this darkness real or merely a projection of my own fears? I reached out my hand, trembling, hoping to touch something, anything that might anchor me to reality, but there's nothing, only the void. Whispered to myself, seeking comfort in the words of Emily Dickinson. Jesus Christ. There's a lot of name never name drop. Billy Bob Thornton told me that. One need not be a chamber to be haunted. One need not be a house. The brain is corridors surpassing material place. Perhaps the darkness was not external at all, but a manifestation in my own mind, a labyrinth of guilt and regret I could not escape. And I gotta tell you, there's an old saying that says, it's better to regret something you have done than to regret something you haven't done. Now, I don't want to say anything about that either way, but goddamn, the things you didn't do, fuck, they haunt you. Yeah, regret I could not escape. Yet even in this despair there was a strange allure to the darkness. It beckoned me deeper, promising answers to questions I had not dared yet ask. As I surrendered to its pull, I thought of T.S. Eliot. Jesus. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. Darkness was my dust, my fear, my truth. And so I walked on into the heart of the abyss, ready to face whatever it held. You've really got to be specific with, like, certain things. Oh, wow. Why are so many people obsessed with Hitler? Well, let me pose an idea. So I'm going back to the start here, because I want to kick that off again. That was just the first volley. But why are so many people obsessed with Hitler? This is back to the two-front war. But what if we had no choice, just like we have no choice, and we're in a two-front war? What if you're in a two-front war and you got no choice? Whether you like it or not, we're in a two-front war. It's like a spiritual war, and that becomes our reality because it becomes our mental state. And our enemies are symbiotic. One feeds the other feeds the other. Those in charge, whom view us as nothing more than cattle, benefit when we view life through a negative lens. We sow negativity and they reap its fruits financially and energetically. Let's continue the thought provoking. Let's continue provoking. Ah, damn. This dual conflict, this two-front war, is not merely a historical echo, but a living, breathing reality. It shapes our every move. I hope you all got a drink, because that's kind of the point of this podcast, is we all have a drink together. It's like, this is whiskey and ginger wine. It's not bad. Yeah. Herman Hesse once said, if you hate a person, you hate something in him that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourselves doesn't disturb us. I wonder about that though. Like, I was thinking about that earlier. Like, they say that about, like, oh, if you're like, if you're scared of gay, or if you don't like gay people, it's because you're secretly gay. I don't like football. Am I secretly a footballer? I don't like spiders. Am I secretly a spider? That doesn't really make it. Anyway, Herman Hesse said it, so it carries more weight than my little whatever. Our enemies, those who feed on our despair, are not just external forces, but reflections of our own inner turmoil. So the spiritual war within us, the battle between hope and despair, fuels the physical war we wage against the world. Consider the symbiotic nature of this struggle. Those in power, who see us as cattle, thrive on the negativity we sow. They cultivate our fear, our anger, our helplessness, and in doing so, they harvest both financial gain and energetic dominance. This dynamic mirrors the words of George Orwell: who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. By controlling the narrative of our spiritual defeat, they ensure our physical subjugation. Our negativity becomes their currency, and we unwittingly become their accomplices. I think of that song so often, the Radiohead song. You do it to yourself, you do, and that's what really hurts. That's what really hurts. Just, yeah. It's a terrific song. What if Hitler's mistake was not the two-front war itself, but his failure to recognise the true nature of his enemies? Perhaps we, too, are misidentifying ours. The spiritual war demands that we confront our own darkness. For as Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will redirect your life and you will call it fate. If we remain blind to the ways in which our negativity empowers our enemies, we'll continue to fight a losing battle on both fronts. The physical war, then, is not just against those who exploit us, but against the very systems we've built. Systems that thrive on our division and despair. William Blake: prisons are built with stones of law, brothels with bricks of religion. Structures of control, be they financial, political, or cultural, are fortified by our own spiritual surrender. To break free, we have to fight on both fronts, simultaneously, with a clarity that Hitler lacked. I don't know if he lacked. I don't want to get into the history of it and whatever. But this is just what. These are just words coming out of my mouth. Look, I can't be held responsible for things I said 5 minutes ago. I'm a different person now. Okay? So, how dare you hold me responsible for things I said back then? We must wage a spiritual war to reclaim our light is the point, and a physical war to dismantle the systems that profit from our darkness. I mean, it feels Sisyphean, doesn't it? Rock goes up the hill, rock goes downhill. I always think of Homer Simpson. Did they ever make Homer Simpson Sisyphus? Because he would have been a great Sisyphus. Rock goes up the hill, down. Rock goes down the hill. Rock goes up the hill, down. Rock goes down the hill. Rock goes up the hill, down. Man. If they didn't, I hope someone does. The boulder of our negativity, that's what it is. That's what we're pushing up the hill. Of course it's going to roll back down. To go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. That is Dostoevsky. We must find our own path to victory, one that rejects the symbolic cycle of negativity and control. Only then can we hope to win this two-front war, not by avoiding it, as we might wish, but by facing it with resolve, born of self-awareness and defiance. The power of thought shaping our reality through the mind, the idea that our thoughts shape our lives, is as ancient as human consciousness itself. Yet it remains a profound truth we often overlook. Emerson was like, the ancestor of every action is a thought. Which is a nice way of putting it. The ancestor of every action is a thought. Every choice, every outcome, every moment of joy or despair begins in the crucible of our minds. We're the architects of our reality, wielding the power to construct a life of light or darkness through the thoughts we choose to nurture. This power, however, comes with a solemn responsibility, for we alone are in charge of this one thing, our minds, the consequences of dark thoughts. Those rooted in fear, anger, doubt, and despair cast long, oppressive shadow over our lives. They're like the fog in Charles Dickens' London, which he described as a great chocolate-coloured pall lowered over heaven. There was a heavy night of fog and a muddy tide running under it. Just as this fog obscures clarity and beauty, dark thoughts cloud our perception, distorting reality into a bleak, hostile landscape. When we dwell on negativity, we invite a cascade of consequences that manifest both internally and externally. Internally, dark thoughts breed a spiritual malaise. They erode our sense of self-worth, replacing hope with despair courage with fear. Poe would have said, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I think we covered that. When our minds are consumed by darkness, like life itself begins to feel like a nightmare, a fleeting, distorted illusion where joy is unattainable. This internal darkness festers, leading to anxiety, depression, and a pervasive sense of hopelessness. It colours every interaction. Externally, dark thoughts attract circumstances that mirror their nature. We constantly think of failure, we subconsciously sabotage our efforts, ensuring that failure becomes our reality. We harbour resentment, we draw conflict into our lives. Others reflect the hostility we project. There's a video I saw, I can't quote any kind of scientific literature, but a video I saw basically said if you put fleas in a jar and you cover the jar with cling wrap and you let them jump and they'll hit the cling wrap and they'll learn to jump that high. And then eventually you take the cling wrap off, but they can never jump out of the jar because they're conditioned to jump that high. A tree which moves some to tears of joy is in the eyes of the others only a green thing that stands in the way. There's Blake again. Our thoughts shape how we perceive the world, and in turn, how the world responds to us. Dark thoughts then become a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating a reality where struggle, isolation, and pain dominate. The transformative power of light thoughts, in contrast, light thoughts, those rooted in love, gratitude, optimism, and faith, illuminate our lives like the first rays of dawn. They bring clarity, warmth, and possibility, transforming both our inner world and the external reality we inhabit. As Emily Dickinson wrote, the soul should always stand ajar, that it may hear the ecstasy. Now that bitch was crazy, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, but she probably made a good point. I wasn't listening, honestly. Light thoughts open the door to ecstasy, inviting joy, connection, and abundance into our lives. Internally, light thoughts foster a sense of peace and resilience. When we focus on gratitude, we train our minds to see the beauty in the present moment, even amidst challenges. When we cultivate optimism, we build a mental fortress against despair, enabling us to face adversity with courage. Victor Hugo understood this power when he wrote, "Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise." I think someone sang that. Light thoughts remind us that no matter the struggle, there's always a dawn waiting to break through the darkness. Pardon me. That was the darkness. I was just breaking through the darkness. That's what it sounds like. Externally, light thought acts as a magnet for positive outcomes. When we think with love, we attract relationships that reflect love. When we think with abundance, we notice opportunities that were previously obscured by fear. Our thoughts ripple outwards, shaping the energy we emit and the experiences we draw to ourselves. As Carl Brand noted, You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. Our thoughts are the bows, and our lives are the arrows, directed by the quality of the mental focus toward either light or darkness. Our sovereignty over the mind, the most empowering truth in this equation, is that we're in charge of our minds. While we cannot always control external circumstances, we can control how we think about them. This sovereignty is both a gift and a challenge. You could call it free will. For it demands that we take responsibility for our mental landscape. Dostoevsky captured this responsibility when he wrote, "The soul is healed by being with children." The idiot. Now, Epstein took that a little far, okay? But we're not talking about Epstein. We're talking about Dostoevsky, okay? Alright. Just as children represent innocence and purity, we must approach our minds with a childlike commitment to nurturing what is good, true, and beautiful. The Masons, their whole thing is truth, beauty, something else. I can't remember. My grandfather was a Mason. I went to try and join, and this podcast got me banned from the Masons. And I've never been more proud of my podcast. Just as children represent innocence and purity, we must approach our minds with a childlike commitment to nurturing what is good, true, and beautiful. I've been describing myself for a while as a Christian Taoist, and there's so much in Tao and the stuff about like emptying your life, and the crossover with Christianity is really fascinating. That's one of the things I find really fascinating. It's why I've called myself a FOCAT, follower of Christ and Tao. Yeah. But our thoughts are not random. They're choices. So our thoughts are not random, they're choices. We might not choose the first thought that enters our mind, but we can choose whether to dwell on it or redirect it. This agency is what separates us from the chaos of the world. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. It really is like how you perceive reality is everything. By mastering our thoughts, we master our lives, aligning our inner world with the desires of our hearts, aligning the mind with the heart's desire. To align our minds with our heart's desires, we must first cultivate awareness of our thoughts. This requires a deliberate practice of mindfulness, where we observe our mental patterns without judgment. When a dark thought arises, say a fear of failure, we can acknowledge it, but then consciously choose to replace it with a light thought, such as gratitude, past successes. The other night I was lying in bed and I thought, okay, I'd love to be able to go back in time and like just take over my body 30 years ago or something, knowing what I know now, and just do it all again. So sometimes I imagine myself on my deathbed, coming back to now and inhabiting my own body. And what would I do differently? What do I know? Gives an interesting perspective. Virginia Woolf I am made and remade continually. Different people draw different words from me. Isn't that everyone? Don't we all do that? We too can remake ourselves by choosing the thoughts that align with our deepest desires. Meditation is a powerful tool for this alignment. By sitting in stillness and focusing on our breath, we create a space where light thoughts can take root. We might visualize our heart's desire, perhaps a life of love, creativity, or purpose, and allow that vision to guide our thoughts. Over time, the practice rewires the mind, making positivity a habit rather than an effort. As Rumi advised, beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. You know what that would sound like? That as Rumi, when you read that and that it's Rumi, you go, that's deep. Like, beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. It sounds amazing. But now check it out in a Scottish voice and imagine it's Begbie saying it to you from Trainspotting. Beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. There's a different fucking tone. Anyway. Meditation takes us to that field. I'll meet you there, pal. Where our minds and our hearts can meet in harmony. Affirmations are another practical method. By repeating positive statements such as I am worthy of love or I create my own abundance, we train our minds to believe in the reality we wish to manifest. Like my one is like, it's 8 inches, it's 8 inches, it's 8 inches. And I just keep telling myself that. And every day I get closer to my goal. These affirmations act as seeds planted in the fertile soil of our consciousness, which grow into the fruits of our heart's desires. Henry David Thoreau supported this idea when he wrote, as a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we walk again and again. To make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the kind of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives. It's kind of nice looking at looking at the mind in like a garden or the outdoors or nature. You have to tame it, and it's full of things that are trying to kill you. Repetition is the key to transformation, is the point. Finally, we must surround ourselves with influences that reinforce light thoughts. There was a study done recently. If you hang around with someone who's a low performer, your performance drops 25%. Or something like that, or 15%. If you hang out with a high performer, it goes up 25%. Something. That's pretty massive. But anyway, it goes up 15% or something. But this might mean, is seeking out uplifting books, music, or communities that reflect the values we hold dear. I listened to a podcast about the frequency 444. Apparently 444 is the frequency one should tune one's instruments to. I thought it was 352 or something. No, what is it? 3... whatever, doesn't matter. I can't think of it. 432. 432 is apparently very light. 440 is very negative. 444 evens it all out. Apparently, these small, minor adjustments make a difference. So try tuning. If you're a musician, tune your shit to 444 and see if it makes a difference. Anyway, it might also mean limiting exposure to negativity, whether from media or toxic relationships. As Milton wrote, the mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. I've experienced that quite a bit recently. I have this absurd phobia that has come out of nowhere and it's just plaguing me. And it just hits me and I'm like, like I gotta shake it off. Anyway, by curating our environment, rather, we create a mental space where light thoughts can flourish, aligning our minds with the desires of our hearts. Conclusion is the choice is ours. Ultimately, the power of our thoughts is both our greatest challenge and our greatest gift. Dark thoughts bring a reality of struggle and despair, while light thoughts bring a reality of joy and abundance. We're in charge of this one thing, our minds, and through practices like mindfulness, meditation, affirmations, and intentional curation of our environment, we can align our thoughts with our heart's desires. As William Wordsworth beautifully expressed, the mind that is wise mourns less for what age takes away. Rather, in youth, it takes to heart the things that come. And I think that's something we can all learn from. Let us take to heart the power of our thoughts, choosing light over darkness, and in doing so, create a life that reflects the truest desires of our souls. Because currently, it seems that we've created the truest desires of assholes. So, we should try the other thing. I mean, it's the impact of consumerism on our thoughts and lives. It's like that's the other front of the war. There's the spiritual side. There's the spiritual front. And then the physical, I mean, for most people, hang on. One second. Okay, I hope that's alright. Anyway, the impact of consumerism on our thoughts and lives. Consumerism. Hang on a sec, guys. I've got to step out for a bit, so I'm just gonna. I don't have any. Do I have anything to? One sec. Sorry, I'll get back to that. No. Alright, look, I'm going to just end the stream because I have to go and check on something.